Hello, and welcome to the BigTime Strength Podcast, featuring small school strength coaches from around the nation that are making the big time where they are at. Before we get to the episode, we'd like to thank our sponsors that make this podcast possible. TeamBuildr is a strength and conditioning software that allows coaches to build training programs, create wellness questionnaires, access and track athlete data, and more. Athletes can log data using phones, tablets, or laptops and can watch exercise videos so they know exactly what to do. Coaches can use the tools within the platform to monitor athlete recovery and readiness. Be sure to sign up now with code BigTime and you will gain access to a 30-day free trial. This episode is also brought to you by Powerlift. Taking your athletic facility from concept to completion can be a challenge. It is Powerlift's goal to make the process as seamless as possible from start to finish. Their weight equipment is made from the toughest materials that can withstand excessive use from coaches and athletes for years to come. It's sought after for its unique design, customizable appearance, affordability, and superior warranty that training facilities deserve. Powerlift helps design weight rooms with the athlete in mind, and they pride themselves on their ability to outfit athletic facilities based on a team's unique goals. That's why high schools, universities, professional sports teams, and athletic performance facilities around the world have chosen Powerlift to help maximize their strength training goals. Call Powerlift today to be contacted with a rep in your area and give us a follow on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter to see for yourself why our clients are Powerlift proud. Finally, this episode is also brought to you by Vitruve. Vitruve is a velocity-based training system designed for colleges and high schools around the world. It is accurate, reliable, and affordable. The software is quick and easy to set up and use with a whole room of athletes simultaneously. Coaches have chosen Vitruve because it simplifies VBT and allows them to seamlessly integrate it on a daily basis. Check out Vitruve now for your school's free demo unit. Now, let's get to this week's episode.
Good morning. Thank you for welcoming me to the great state of Nebraska. I've only been here a handful of times, but every time it's been fun. Is there anything past Omaha and Lincoln is normally what people ask, and I don't know either because I've never been past it. But I do want you to know that my background has been strength and conditioning, strength and speed type work, but I have a heart for physical education. Okay, so my schooling at Northwest Missouri State was PE. Some of my professors that I had there, they poured into me in a way that kind of lit a fire. And I also had some awesome PE teachers growing up that kind of that put me down this path of, man, what does it look like to live a life of wellness? Not just now, but all the way through our full lifetime. Right? And that's what we want to do, is we want to reach to our students every single day, just build the habits now that can help them throughout their whole life, right? And so it doesn't matter if we're talking our lifetime wellness class at Mount Vernon or our Mustang Strength and Speed class at Mount Vernon, our overall goal is still going to be lifetime wellness, right? So now that we have kind of this vision or this mission out in front of us, we know where we want to go, we have to start to think about what are the ways that we can connect with the kids to get them there, right? Because eventually, someday, they're not going to have a class that they have to show up to for, their wellness aspects of the day, right? They're going to have to make a choice. And one of the things that is kind of transitioned within strength and speed is strength and speed used to be like a before school or after school deal, right? Strength and conditioning, that's kind of what you did, was you either had to get up early or you had to stay after practice, or you figure it out within your schedule. But within the last 10, 15 years, it started to slide within the school day because it's a really viable part of physical education. It's awesome, right? And I tell kids, man, you are so lucky to have this during the day. I never had this during the day, right? But then I said it's a double-edged sword, because right now you're already at school. It's easy, right? You just come to class. Right? You get that mental break. If I survey the kids, what they say is, you know what? I love this strength and speed class. Not as a teacher, although he is good-looking and does a really good job. I was hoping that would be better. Okay, but more so because the mental break. Because they disconnect from their phone, they disconnect from this mental load that they have, right? What they're trying to do within this time is to work really hard. but it's a different work than they do during the day. But this double-edged sword is they show up, they get to get that awesome time during the day, and then they go home, they go to the next class, right? At some point in their life, they're going to have to make it their own. They're going to have to build that habit for themselves, right? Some of you probably got up this morning and you went and worked out. You went for a run. You did something last night. Or you figured out a way that you could make an impact, make a habit for you that fits your schedule, right? Because you chose to. You're a physical educator, right? You're disciplined and you know the benefits of what it looks like to be physically educated, right? And one of the things that I want to just get across to as many people as I can is that this thing is not just now. It's not just for like strength and conditioning, strength and speed stuff. A lot of people, they see the end goal is to win a bunch of ball games, right? This doesn't fire me up, okay? I want you to see physical education and strength and speed or whatever you look at as a way to impact somebody for the whole lifetime, right? So here's something that I often talk about is just like if we have this mission, we have this vision, then where are we actually starting? And everybody in this room, it's a different spot. Everybody in this room, they're starting in a different way, right? I get the opportunity to help some school districts out with what it looks like to get their strength and speed started. My goal is, in the state of Iowa, is I want every high school to have a strength and speed coach that is knowledgeable, that can help their students. That's what I want. That's my goal. So I've been working on that for some time now. And one of the things I've noticed every single time that people come to the door, or I go to them, or whatever it looks like, is everybody's in a completely different spot. Okay? So you have to ask yourself this question. And it's the problem-solving aspect that it actually makes it pretty fun and engaging. But we need to know where to begin, how to get started. And you might start to think through, man, if I was starting a PE program, or if I'm thinking about how I'm going to set up my class, maybe you're at a new school, or maybe you're trying to reboot, or maybe it's the start of a semester or a quarter or something coming up here. What you think through and how you go about that is going to start with this roadmap. Okay? So we want to begin with the end in mind, okay? And we want to be in it for the long haul. Okay? So when we say begin with the end in mind, I say athletes in here. You can just replace that with student athletes, students, however you want to talk about your population, okay? But we want athletes that are disciplined enough to be consistent, right? Because we talked about what does it look like after they leave high school? What does it look like for them the rest of their life? We want them to be able to be disciplined enough to be consistent. High school athletes are trained 2 to 3 times per week for 4 years will make more progress than the kids that go hard every day for a few months and fizzle out. So how can we light this fire? How can we light a fire of physical education? How can we light a fire of being a full lifetime of wellness, right? And we have to figure out, where are we now? Where do we want to go? How can we be in it for the long haul? And how can we help other kids? How can we help our students be in it for the long haul? So these questions become the roadmap to their future, right? And this is one of the things that I think is awesome about vision. If you're ever doing like vision, mission, core values, all that type of stuff, they're so fun to think about. And here's why. Because a vision, it will never be attainable, okay? You will never be able to reach that vision, but you find it valuable enough, worthy enough to chase after it, right? So I want every one of my students to be able to fight for lifetime wellness, right? Now, is that going to ever, will I ever see that? Will I ever see the fruits of that labor? Will I ever know if all of my students are chasing after lifetime wellness? Absolutely not. Is it even attainable? Probably not. But the idea that it is valuable enough, it's worthy enough, matters. Okay, and that's what the journey is for, and that's what the fun part about this is. Okay, so sometimes when we start to go into these type of talks of like, what does it look like to actually get started? What does it look like for a good PE program to exist? We start to think about curriculum. We start to think about X's and O's. We start to think about scheme and logistics and things that maybe just don't matter as much. Okay? What I would say is most of you have felt this, right? There's an awesome quote. There's one of them that sits right next to my desk on my wall. Okay? And it says basically I'm gonna butcher it, but people don't remember what you said, right? They remember how you made them feel. You guys know what I'm talking about? You've seen that quote before, right? When you can create an environment that allows students to feel welcome, to feel pushed, to make themselves better, to pursue the best version of themselves, okay? That is what we're chasing after. We're chasing that feeling, right? So many times you'll see coaches do this, you'll see PE teachers do this, you'll see strength and speed practitioners do this, because they go right to programming and scheme and curriculum, and I think it misses the boat, right? I think it's off. I think this is something that is so important. So what's the secret sauce? It's top secret, right? How do you know what this is? And this was something that I learned from my mentor at Northwest Missouri State. Okay, so Joe Quinlan has been at Northwest Missouri State, first as an athlete, won a couple national championships there. Then he came back as a coach. Okay, and he has poured into students for years and years and years. Okay, and you talk about somebody that cares for students, it'd be Joe, right? And so I walk into Northwest Missouri State, and there's a mentor that I've had now for 12 years, 13 years, okay? And this guy, he just does an amazing job of connection, right? Because connection trumps communication. Connection trumps curriculum. Connection is that top secret sauce. So I just gave you the answer. I gave you the answer to this. But you're probably like, wait, tell me more about this. Well, here's a quick story for you. When I went to Mount Vernon, I had finished up being a graduate assistant at Northwest Missouri State. I had learned so much. I had a stint at University of Missouri. I was around amazing athletes. I was around people that were very committed. I thought, man, they're programming the things that we did. Man, that's how you get people to really buy in, right? Is you create all of these awesome exercises and programs and just things that they can be a part of, right? And so then I get to Mount Vernon, and it's my first classes. I got hired as a PE teacher, a health teacher, and I'm tasked with implementing strength and speed during our school day. And I was so upset with Joe. Okay, I was so mad at Joe. I didn't tell Joe at the time that I was mad at him, but I would even call my GA friends, right, the guys I went to college, and said, "How are you figuring this out?" Because they were in the same boat as me. Because I just felt like I didn't know enough. Like, I felt like, man, I just do not understand what it looks like to be able to, sorry, my wife, she was calling me, it's not her, it's my 3-year-old that grabs her phone and hits the emergency contact. I apologize for that. Okay, but what I was so upset with Joe because I thought I needed to know more. I thought that, man, you didn't teach me enough, right? I needed more knowledge. I needed more curriculum, scheme, programming. I needed more of that. Okay? And then finally, I realized, it wasn't until probably after that first year, that none of that matters. Right? There's curriculum stuff that you need to know. There's X and O stuff that you need to know. But man, it's really not that hard. Physical education, strength and conditioning, all the anatomy and phys that goes along with it, it's all great stuff. And you can go down deep rabbit holes with it. Okay? But it does not matter near as much as the connection does. So I called Joe up. I expressed my frustration to him. He didn't even know I was frustrated with him, right? But I expressed it after the year. And then I told him, Joe, thank you. Right? Because what did he teach me? What do you think? What were the things that were just so vital to me? It was all the things that he was doing to connect with every single one of his students that was coming through his door. That was crazy. That was awesome for me to finally figure out and have this aha moment, right? And those are the ones that stick with you. The ones where you struggle day in and day out, and then you're finally like, oh man, I was missing it, right? So fast forward to figuring out, oh, Joe knew what he was doing all along. He taught me everything I needed to know. He actually probably taught me more than anything else that I could always learn more about X's and O's. But it's really hard to really learn the connection pieces. It's really hard unless you start to feel it, right? Remember that quote? It's like, people remember how you made them feel. What can we do as physical educators to really make sure that we have a connection with our students? And some of these seem really simple, but I want you to, I don't know if you have pen and paper, I don't know if any of you are like that, or if you like to get on your phone or not, but I want you to kind of record some of these as we go around. Just write them down, okay? And I want you to ask yourself, am I doing these things? And what are some of the ones that I could add in, swap out, make my own, whatever it is? I want to encourage you to do that. So if you're a note person, if you're a note person in your phone, whatever it is, but I want you to think through these, because these have changed the way that I operate. My first year, I felt like I was pretty good at connection, just from osmosis, from being around Joe and how he did things, and then I started to get intentional about it. Then I started to say, if this is the thing that matters the most, if this is this top secret sauce, okay, then I'm going to put my eggs in this basket. I'm going to make sure that I'm trying to do this with every single student, okay? So the first one, hello, my name is Preston, right? You know my name, and if I walk up to you, I'll try to say your name after I learn it, right? And then there's automatically this connection that happens. There is power in the name. You've seen it before, right? When you go and address a student in a positive way, you got a smile on your face, and you say, hey, student, what's up? Right? That's that smile that you add with it, and then you just go and you say hi to them. It matters. That's a little small piece of connection. But man, if you do that every single day, day in and day out, and you keep on saying this person's name, and you're working hard to be the best that you can be at the curriculum, at the X's and O's, at all the STEAM stuff, okay? They're going to see, man, there's some value in this. This person's working hard and they care about me, okay? This is a big one. Write it down if you got it, okay? Next one, physical contact, right? And this is something that one of our culture coaches at Mount Vernon, he talks about Steve Nash a lot. Okay, so I had seen this before. It surfaced on Twitter, and I'm like, oh man, he keeps on talking about it. This is something that we try to do every day. I'm just going to use this as a slide, because I think this is a big time one. Okay, but physical contact. Steve Nash averages 239 high fives per game, right? Back when he was balling up, right? And he was making sure that every one of his teammates felt connected, right? He was pushing those people to be better, letting his teammates know that he was there with them, right? So you think about that within your classroom. What does that look like for you? Right? If I can go up to my students and I say, first their name, and then we've got a handshake. It's getting hard for me to remember all the handshakes, but we've got all the handshakes, okay? Then I am telling you, there is going to be this connection that happens. Okay? Because now every time I see that person, even after they graduate, we'll go up, we'll get that handshake in, whatever it looks like. Okay? And it can just be a high five. You don't have to be elaborate with this. But some kids, they need that extra connection. You felt that, right? Some kids that just need that little extra. Easy way. Another one that stands out to me in such a big way, and not to hit on my past experience at Northwest Missouri State too much, but man, I just learned so much from so many people. This one was a big one, okay? There were two people that talked about this a ton. One of them I never got to meet, okay? Well, I did, he recruited me, but then he died in the summer. He was the head football coach and he had a heart attack before the season started. Okay? So I never got to be around him, but what kept around in his legacy was making the big time where you're at. And the number one way you do that is you make every single day count where you are, being present, being where your feet are at. Okay? So that coach, even though I was recruited by him, I never was actually coached by him, he still had an impact on my life. Actually, for 5 or 6 years now, I've been able to interview coaches and talk about this and how people are doing this within their school districts. Like, what does it really, really look like to do this long term? Because I'm interested in that. I want to see people that can do it now, but then the long haul too, right? I find so much interest in that. So, talking about, and then the second person was once again Joe, because he talked about, man, if you're in the room coaching, if you're in a PE class, you have to be present there, no work, your work is in front of you. right? There's no checking phones, there's no computer, there's no email, there's no anything else, because your job is here. It's really hard to be connected when your nose is right here. And I know it's hard for physical educators. I get it. Okay? I live the same life that you do. All the other teachers, they hand out their lesson, and then they go to the computer and they can get caught up on email. Right? They can get caught up on attendance. They can get caught up on their next class that they have to prep for. Correct? Do you get that opportunity as a physical educator? You don't. It's hard. It really is. Your prep time gets condensed to how many emails can I get sent back out? How many things can I get prepped for my next class? It always feels like a rush. But when you can take your time and be where you're at, where your class, man, does that change the atmosphere. Man, does that change the class that you're in. Because now you've got kids that understand that you're committed to them, right? It's like all the things that you see on social media, which is ironic that I see it on social media, but it's showing you, man, what does it look like to be a parent when you're on your phone or you're on your laptop? Hey, just wait. I'd love to play with you. Let me get this work done, right? You've seen it before, and it hits you hard because almost everybody's in that same boat, right? It's the same thing for our students. If you're always trying to work on something else instead of working on your room, working on your gym, or whatever particular area you're in, man, instead of like working on the people that are there, they feel it. They feel it. And maybe you're like, they do. I put this one up here because I think that oftentimes we can convince ourselves of a lie. We can convince ourselves that some people are more valuable than other people. And you might be like, man, I don't ever do that. But if you really search your heart, I think maybe you come to a different conclusion sometimes. Because I don't know of very many people that have lived that perfect life, right? Where they have valued all people the same. Or they have valued even the lowest or the least of these, right? And I'm telling you, I really, really, really believe that your culture can change when you coach the worst person and the best. The most coordinated and the least coordinated. The strongest, fastest, elite alpha, and the slowest, weakest person that is so shy that they barely want to be in class, right? And if you're really honest with yourself, that you are reaching forward, backward, up, and down, you're really honest with yourself, there are times that you neglect kids. Right? I can say that because I search my heart, and I do it sometimes. Frustrated with a kid, I'm just going to give them their space. I make a lie in my head, right? I'm just going to give them their space, but what it turns into is I'm not saying their name, I'm not giving them physical contact, I'm not coaching them well, I'm not doing the things that, you guys follow what I'm saying? I'm trying to tell myself, I'm distancing myself from this student right now because they need to be distanced. Have you ever done that? I have. I'll say it because I'm up here and I'm speaking about it. But I want you to search your heart. Because as soon as you start to see that every single human is valuable, every single human in every moment is valuable, it will change the way that you coach. Right? So you see Curry right here sitting with Curry, but I'm telling you one of the reasons why this guy over here on the left is a leader of men is because he coaches the first person and the 15th person on the bench. Right? That's a big deal. And I want everybody to understand that when you enter the room, the way that it feels, right? Remember we keep on talking about the way that it feels and how welcome somebody is? It matters. Okay, so one of the things I hate about talks, and I've tried to switch this. I like site visits, I like going to see people, I like to be on the floor with people, I like to walk around, talk, have meals with them. Proximity matters. I feel separated from the room right now. I don't like it very much. And I'd rather have a conversation at the table. Because right now, I feel like you're all out there, and I'm up here, and there's some sort of divide, okay? That's not something that I want. You think about that in your classroom, too, right? You think about the way that you teach. Are you in the trenches, or are you back and away, right? Are you separating yourself? Are you getting actually close to kids, right? And then kind of the joke with this is you get your steps in. I keep on breaking. Every one of my watches gets broken. It's part of being a physical educator, right? They just get broken. I need to go right back to like the old Timex, but it doesn't have the step counter in it. But man, you talk about the amount of steps that you can get when you go from rack to rack, or gym to upstairs, to the wrestling room, to wherever you're going within your school, right? You're using all the locations, the track, the field, whatever you got going on, and you're coaching up all day long, you're gonna get all the steps in that you need, and plenty more, okay? I think that proximity piece, sometimes we get in a funk, we're getting rid of, maybe this. This is one I struggle with sometimes. We have 9 racks in our room, so imagine each one of these tables is a rack, okay? It is easy for me to stand right here in the front of the room and see everybody in the whole room, okay? So we have 4 racks on this side, 4 racks on this side, and 1 in the window, okay? And I can see the whole room. Oh, you'll see a picture here in a little bit, okay? So I have a problem of standing right here too often. So one way that I've changed things, and this is different for physical educators, but you could probably do if you got station work, you do it too, is I just move the kids every week, they move 1 rack. Okay? So if I'm here a good chunk of the class, because I go around and I coach this way, I'm weird because I have to have a system. But I coach around the room this way, then I coach around the room this way, and then I always, like in between each one of those coaching, I'm right here. It feels different in different parts of the room. Okay? So that feel piece, if you know you've got problems, or if any of these you've got problems with something, dig into it. What would be a solution that you could do to help figure out, man, how can I keep on building connection? Hello? It's like hearing myself, sorry. All right, this one, I've told the story 3 times now, and I haven't got through it without crying yet, but I'm going to do it today, okay? And here's why. I told my wife I wasn't going to cry today. So, and she'll ask me right afterwards. So this one, I still have freshman and sophomore classes split from my junior senior classes. We do a split that way. Just because strength and speed, at the beginning, you're learning, it takes just a little bit more effort, a little bit more time, a little bit more coaching, and sometimes I'm a little bit more militant. So let me put that out there first. Okay? When there is a high degree of learning that needs to be done, and safety is an issue, and there's a room full of kids moving around, and it's a really tiny space actually, we have to make sure that we have some systems in place and that we're listening. Right? But eventually I get to be a little bit more, after I've built that trust, we kind of figure out the systems of the room, then I take away from it. So please don't look at this and say, okay, he never raises his voice, he's never militant in any way. I am sometimes, okay? But here's what I really want you to know. This story impacts me because it is something that I live. My dad was my coach, okay? So we were at a small school in southern Iowa, Forest County in Iowa, right? There were a lot of frustrations that my dad had, and I was his son, and if I could take the blunt force of some of his frustrations and be able to get a point across to the rest of the room or the gym or the field or whatever, he would do that, okay? He regrets it now. We've had plenty of heart-to-hearts, but I'm telling you, I got yelled at, screamed at. It was tough, okay? And I love football, so I could take it in football. But he was also my basketball coach. And then he was also my track coach, and track is good back. See, okay? But trying to do the same thing in basketball. I didn't have the same love for basketball. Okay, so I already had this way that I felt. My dad made me feel a certain way. You guys follow what I'm saying? That's hard. That's really hard. Maybe you've had that. I don't know. Okay? Maybe you had a coach that's hard. Right? It was me and it was my dad. It was. Okay? I tell my brothers they should tell me thank you because he got softened up by the time they came through. It's okay. I'll take that. It's all right. I stopped by and saw my brother in Des Moines on the way over here. Guess what we're talking about? Growing up, right? So, I'm not saying that I'm immune to this. Okay? The other week, kid that's habitually late and doesn't have his shoes on came into the gym. I was frustrated from something else. I don't even remember what it was. But I was frustrated. And he hadn't done what I'd asked him to do. I'd done all the things. Hey, buddy, I see that you're late again. I see that you're late again. Physical contact, proximity. I don't want to make a habit. Can you work on this? Oh, got it, coach. Okay, literally the next day. No shoes, came in late. Coach, I was whatever, right? It's even that. And I went off on him. How do you think he responded? What do you think? Was it a positive thing or was it a negative thing? It was negative. It was horrible, right? How many times have you ever been criticized and you got better from being criticized, especially in front of your peers? How'd that go for you? Right? He's frustrated. I'm frustrated. We get done with the warm-up and our weight room's upstairs. He's the last one to go through. You could have guessed that, right? He's the last one to go through the door. I high-five every kid as they go by. And I take a little bit longer with the high-five with him. I say, hey, man, I messed up. And he goes, hey, coach, I messed up. Right? So I'm not saying any of this stuff doesn't happen. But you got to be real and you got to be you, right? I didn't want that to linger long, okay? Lucas, he's a great kid. He's got a lot of things that are going on in his life. I added to it. Wasn't good, right? So on the way up the stairs, by the end of it, I gave him a hug, he gave me a hug, we were good. Okay? Did he come with shoes the next time? No. But he was on time, so it was all right. But it's 50-50. All right, that was one story. This is my favorite story. This is my absolute all-time favorite story. This is the one I'm not going to cry about, okay? My head football coach, his name is Lance Pedersen. Same spelling, same last name. We're probably like family members back in Denmark, but we're not related, okay? So, Coach Pedersen, he's really good. He's kind of the old school. He's like my dad, right? He's kind of this old school coach. Had a ton of success. He knows how to win games. He knows how to get young men on board. He is one of those guys that if you want to hire a football coach, you hire Lance, right? I did this presentation in front of him too, so don't feel like I'm throwing him under the bus. We were playing in a big game. Okay? We had the best quarterback in the state. You can look it up. He's the best quarterback in the state. Right? Takes a snap. You got a fast kid, kind of short, but fast kid running down the sideline, perfect ball. Okay? And goes up. Everything was perfect. Okay? And it goes right through his hands. Totally, right through his hands. Coach Pedersen comes storming down the sideline. You see this guy, he's got all these expressions, right? He's got his headset flinging down, his hat's flying down, and he's got this stance, right? Have you ever seen something like that? And he said, catch that effing ball. Right? That's what he said to him. And I'm coming from the experience I had growing up. You heard my experience growing up, okay? What do you think that triggered in me? I got daddy issues, right? Seriously, my dad and I were tight, so just so you know that. I said, Coach P, good job, you really made him better there. Okay, this is my second year. Okay, but I'm still young. Still, it's a year and 2 months into knowing Coach P, right? And he gave me you should just see him sometime, man. You can read his emotions pretty easy. He puts them all over his face and he stares me down, doesn't talk to me. We get to halftime, doesn't talk to me. Rest of the game, doesn't talk to me. Rest of the season, doesn't talk to me. We got by it, but it was tough for that kid, right? It's a big moment. He dropped the big time ball, right? I'd love to tell you, like, oh man, the next one he got, I don't even remember. Okay? I was just so in that moment with how Coach P had responded to that student. Okay? And 4 years later, we were driving. We didn't know how good this team was. It was early in the season. It ended up being a blowout. We killed them. Okay? But at the moment, they were up 6-0. And we were driving, and it was a third down at midfield, and a kid runs a comeback right at the sticks. So the quarterback's over here, hits it, outside breaking route, catch it, or tries to catch it right here, the ball right through his hands. So I see Coach Pedersen running down the field. Running! And he gets to that kid. This is where I cry every time. I want to stop a second. You compose myself. Guess what he said? I said, because I love the kid too. He's my favorite kid. Coach Pedersen runs down the sideline. Hey, who gets the next one? Who got this? Right? And so Coach Pedersen ran all the way down the sideline. There's that third down play at midfield. Every once in a while, we're like, hey, where's the defense? You got this? Yeah, we got it. Okay, we're going for it on fourth down. Right? So we're going for it on fourth down. Guess what play we called? The exact same play. Right? The corner is a deep cover three. He's trying to. It was like double sticks. Honestly, it was. So the corner flies back. Kid gets it. The outbreaking route again. Okay, to come back right at the sticks, catches it, keeps the drive alive, and ends up scoring. Ends up being like 40-6. That was the final score. Right? Now, tell me about this kid that I told you first. His name is Matt. How he felt after he dropped the big ball in the big game, and how Jake felt when he dropped the ball. We didn't know if it was a big game or not. It wasn't really a big game at the end. Okay? But dropped the ball, and his coach comes screaming down the sideline, okay? A leader of young men, and says, hey, you got this next one. And then we call the same play again and give him another opportunity. Isn't that awesome? Isn't that what we want to see over and over and over? It's just this opportunity to pick kids up, right? How many kids are coming into your class and they don't want it? There's some of them, right? But there's so many kids that they just want to do the best that they can. And if they don't want it, probably those are the kids that we need to pour into more. Would you agree? Like those are the kids that need it even more. All right. I gotta get moving. Do you like the stories or no? I gotta get better stories on it. Sometimes I get too long. Okay? This one, we do tumbling. Every week we do tumbling. Okay? So we go into the wrestling room. We got people that can do front flips, back handspring into a double flip. I don't even know how you say all these things. Okay? And there was one girl that she came in and she hadn't done tumbling since she was like 10. And she hit something, she was worried about it, she hit something crazy. And one of her best friends goes, show off, right? You've heard that before, or try hard, or whatever it is. Like, that's what she said, and I stopped the class, I threw Josie under the bus, I said, what did you say? And she was talking to Elsa, and Elsa felt a little bit embarrassed, but she was excited that she didn't hit it. And I said, Josie, what did you say? And she's like, Coach P, right? Like, why are you calling me out in front of the whole class? They're best friends, okay? They train together, they're best friends. She was doing that little jab, right? Because her friend just did something really cool, and she says, show off, right? But I stopped the class right there. Because why? You tell me why. What do you think? Does anybody have an idea with it? I'll let you talk. I throw a question out there and I always answer it for you. Right. And even though they are tight and they know that, and Elsa, the one that did the flips, she laughed and smiled about it a little bit. But inside, you don't know, right? You just don't know. And they were cool. They were fine. Absolutely, totally fine. Okay? But those two kids, I can count on them to be able to take what I said. I said, hey, everyone, this was a total joke. Josie was not really trying to get at Elsa. She wasn't. But in this environment, and a class full of peers, how important is it for us to all be there for each other, right? How hard is it for a kid in PE that doesn't want to dress out, that doesn't want to work hard, that doesn't want to be a part of something, to then get in there and their peers make a jab at it? That's hard, right? And Elsa and Josie, they can take it, right? They knew where I was coming from. But I wanted every kid in the class to know, listen, this is important, right? We want to make sure everybody here feels included. right? And this was both ends of the spectrum. That was high performing. Think about your low end performers. Do you guys know what I'm talking about? Man, that could be a life-changing deal. You might not be able to be physically literate because of the way that you feel in class. Like, you might not ever go to the gym, run, kayak, canoe, or anything physical because of the way that you felt in gym class. Probably, right? It's not that far out of the scope to think about it like that, right? All right, here's our room. There's the 4 racks on each side, the one in the window. From that vision right there, that's why I was trying to make that reference back to what we were talking about earlier. Okay? But together, everyone achieves more. You guys have heard that cliche over and over and over. Here's what I wanted you to know from this. When we come into the weight room, we come into strength and speed class, we come into PE, these are the things that we want. We just lay them out there. We talk about them a lot. We want to narrow our focus. We want to move with purpose. We want to take advantage of the opportunity to get better. We want to be coachable. We want to have a sense of urgency. And this is the big one. This is the team aspect. We want to pull others up with us. Right? How many days have you come into work and you didn't have it? Right? You just didn't have it. And how awesome is it when a colleague comes up to you and says, hey, let's go have a great day. Isn't that just awesome? Right? Now think about your students. Can you build that up in your classroom? Hey, let's go have a great day. It could be stupid stuff. It could be easy stuff. It could be anything. But I'm telling you, when you want to see something in your classroom, why aren't we being specific with it? Why aren't we being intentional with it? If we want a certain outcome, but we're not chasing the things that it would take to get to that outcome, that's crazy. All right, I'm almost done. Let's do it like this. When you're in your classroom, when you're in the gym, you're in the weight room, whatever you got going on, if you don't have some flow to how you're doing things, it's going to be hard. Transitions are important. Okay? I had an awesome teacher at Northwest Missouri State, professor at Northwest Missouri State, that he talked about transitions almost more than anything else. Okay, Nick, you might have had him too. Butler?
Yep.
He talked about transitions all the time. How long should a drill, a game, whatever be? Right? If you're going to have like appetite, if you talk about it like a meal, you got appetizers and some of the side stuff, and you have your main course, and maybe you got some stuff after, some dessert, right? What is all the time frames for those? Okay? And it matters. How you flow through things matters, and kids feel that. So when we are going, we want to make sure that we are orchestrating something that has some harmony, some rhythms, some coordination to how we're doing it. And we want to make sure that students can see the rhyme and the reason for doing it. And then how can you incorporate as much fun as possible into those circumstances? Okay, so here's a quick one. This isn't helpful for a lot of physical educators. If you're a strength and speed coach, this might be helpful, but I'm a systems person. Right? I got to have a rhythm. I talked about how connection trumps everything. I still need systems. I need curriculum. I need X's and O's. I need scheme. I need to be organized. It's just it's a personal problem. Okay? I have to have these things that happen. But then that means I have to program it in fun. Okay? Because if I would just stay rigid through all those things, I'm screwing things over. Right? Because nobody wants to do anything that's not fun. Nobody wants to do anything that they're not actually invested in. So I got to be very, very, very specific with this. I like this quote here. Never, ever underestimate the importance of having fun. Okay? So then we just program as much fun as we can. Question of the day, do you like pancakes or waffles? Are you a Crest or Colgate type of person? Hopefully you brush your teeth and you know what those are. Okay? Do you like ketchup, ranch, or are you a Chick-fil-A, whatever the mixture of all those things are, right? Whatever the question of the day, they're stupid a lot of the time. Okay, that's one of the ways I program in fun. They're stupid a lot of the time. But if I would go up to somebody, I give them a high five, ask them how the day is going, coach them up a little bit, and then ask them the question of the day. Man, what else does that kid want that day out of their PE teacher? What do they want? I've talked to them, I've connected with them, I've asked them questions, I've coached them up, I've made sure that they've been connected, they've been included within the classroom. Man, I feel like I'm rocking and rolling, right? These questions today, a lot of times are stupid. But every once in a while, you're important. Right? You're very important. Like, hey coach, how's things going? Right? And if I ask them about ketchup and peanut butter and Colgate, every once in a while, I can ask them some things that actually matter. You guys know what I'm saying? Because they're so comfortable with me now. And we talk about ketchup, that they feel that they can talk about other things. Right? So this question of the day, although a little thing, is expected. And if I don't have one ready for them, it's frustrating. They call me out on it. Okay? So I've got a whole list. Got a whole list for it. Okay? Here's my list of fun, and then we'll call it good for the day. Okay? Kickstarters, that's what I'm presenting on this next presentation section. Warm-up games, I've got a few of those that I'm presenting on the next one. Competitions, those are every competition you could ever think of. Partner races, lasers, BBT, tumbling, noodles, tennis ball series, reaction ball, and then PE games, whatever you want to call that, okay? The general PE games. We try to include all of those things going on, okay? Now, do you think all these people back here are just disengaged, or what are they doing? They're watching Ty, right? Ty's about to run a really fast time. Ty's excited, and so are they. And they're all waiting anxiously, right? That's fun. They want to hear what his time is going to be. All right, here's what I want you to do with your notepad or your phone, whatever. We do all of these three things every session. Every session. Me and Ryan Whitman, my colleague, my friend, he does most of the lifetime wellness classes and then a couple strength and speed classes. These are the things that we try to do every single day. Here's what I want you to do. Find a few things that you'd like to commit to each session, or class period, or whatever you want to call it. These things should help build toward lasting connections that matter. Don't you want impact? Don't you want connection? Don't you want relationship? Don't you want something that lasts? Right? So do students. It can be these three, or they can be something completely different. Maybe it's stuff that you already do, but you're not super intentional with. Right? The goal is to engage, equip, and empower our students. We want them to be engaged before we can equip them. And once they are equipped, we want to empower them to go and be leaders, be able to live a lifetime of wellness. These things are important. So hopefully you have your list. You're thinking through, man, what are some of the things that I could do to connect with my students? And then watch them flourish. Watch you have a heck of a lot more fun at your work. All right. Thank you. There we go.